for this installment, I wanted to present on religious diversity in the West. Diversity is, there are many different religions around. You've probably seen maps like this. This is a map of world religions. This is from Wikipedia. And if you look at that, North America is, well, the Americas are all Christian. I can't see the colors very well, but it looks like this means mixed Catholic and Protestant. Protestant, well, I can't quite tell. Each color represents the majority religion. This is easy, right? And in this case, the whole country gets the same color. So China is all this color, even though different parts of China have different majority religions. Anyway, this is a kind of stupid, simple way to think of religion. You can get a better, here's a better one. Here they've divided China into different colors according to what religion is most popular. Here is no religion. Here is Chinese religions. Taiwan is colored as Buddhist. So this may be, this shows why this is kind of a, this is too simple, right? If you just say Taiwan is mainly Buddhist, that isn't complex enough. It's a diverse country. Here, so you've got Christian countries. Eastern Germany and the Czech Republic are atheist. And I can't see the color differences well enough to go more than that. But I have poor color vision. Anyway, these maps, you see them everywhere, but they don't handle religious diversity very well. So I wanted to reinforce, when we think of the West, we think, oh, those are mainly Christian countries, unless there are some Muslim countries in it. Depending on how we define the West, maybe more Muslim countries. Anyway, and then Israel. But it's not that simple. So, this is a 2014 survey of religion in the U.S. It's a fairly good survey. It's respected. And this is some of their findings. Christians, they call people and ask them their religion. And this is how they answer. 70.6% say they are Christians. And it's more than twice as many Protestants as Catholics. But Catholics are the biggest church. The Protestants are divided into many different churches. So the Catholics are the biggest church, but the Protestants are twice as many as the Catholics. Anyway, Christians, 70%. Nuns, 22.8%. A nun is someone, when you ask them, what religion are you? They say, I don't have one. Are they atheists? Atheism is Wushanlun. You believe there is no God, no religion is true. No, only 3% are atheists. Then who are all the others? Well, it could be many things. People who believe in God, but not in religion. Maybe no organized religion. It's hard, they're all different kinds. Maybe some of you. So, that doesn't mean you are not religious. That just means you don't have an answer. It doesn't mean you don't have a convenient label. You don't belong to a religion, but you might still believe in stuff. So, these are the minority religions. Jews, 1.9%. Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, all less than 1%, but close to 1%. So you've got about 5% miscellaneous, 70% Christians, and 23% nuns right now, or 3 years ago. This changes over time. It changes a lot. Let me show you an older survey, the same survey from 1948. It was simpler in those days. They asked only a few questions. 91% were Christians, 69% Protestant, 22% Catholics. So it looks like the Catholics have kept the same number. The Protestants have gone down. Jews, 4%. Now they're less than 2%. So the Jews have declined. And they didn't even ask about the other religions. They weren't considered important. If you want to know how many were none, the answer was about 2%. They didn't realize that was going to be an important category. What's the future going to be? Well, they speculate in the year 2050, maybe these are projections. Statisticians think that in the future, in 2050, 30 years, 32 years from now, we'll have 66.4% Christians, 25.6% nuns. Christians will shrink, nuns will grow by the same amount, and all the minority religions will grow, except Jews. The Jews are aging. They have a lot of old people, not enough babies. They're getting smaller. All the other religions are growing because of immigration. So this is the US. There are other Western countries around. I'll just pick a few. Here's the UK today, or a few years ago. This is from a census. A census means they knock on everyone's door and ask how many people live there and write down a lot of things. And the US has a census too, but they don't ask about religion in the US census, which I'm very disappointed with. I would really like to know the census answers. All we have are surveys. But the UK has a census, and their census reveals 58.8% are Christians. And this is the 2001 number. Every 10 years they have a census. So in 10 years, they've lost more than 10% of the Christians. Now, these are relative figures, so that doesn't mean there are fewer. That just means there are more of other people. The nuns, 15.9% in 2001, 26.1% in 2011. So the nuns have grown in Britain too. Muslims, 2.8% in 2001, 2001, 4.5% in 2011. So Muslims are growing. All the other minority religions are also growing except Jews. Jews are shrinking. Oh yes, Jedi. Remember the Jedi? I told you about them before. They're the good guys from Star Wars, Shinji Dajan. Did you see Star Wars, any of the Star Wars movies?
Yeah.
If you saw any of them, the good guys were Jedi. They live in space, they do magic. No, they don't exist. It's a movie. But in 2001, a bunch of people in Britain said, let's play a joke on the census. When they ask, what religion are you? Let's all say, Jedi. Ha ha. And in 2001, something more than 300,000 British people said they were Jedi. The census office is okay, haha, and they're all listed with nuns. If you said Jedi, they think that you're a nun. You probably have no religion. If you had a real religion, you wouldn't joke about it. Exactly. The number of Jedi has gone down. There were less than 200,000 of them last time. Because it was funny the first time, the second time, not so much. People who study religion are very irritated because, we would like to know the real answers. And when they tell jokes, it's funny, but it also spoils the numbers. If you want to know all the small religions, in Britain you can get those numbers. How many devil worshippers are there in Britain? Less than 2,000. How many Baha'is? About 5,000. How many Shinto, Shungaojiao, like from Japan? About 1,000. They have a list of all the small religions. You can find it. And 7% did not answer the question. So that's a big category. What were they really? Nobody knows. Now, this is what religion people say when you ask them, what religion are you? That does not mean whether you go to church or anything like that. Some people might say they are this religion, but just as a family tradition. Maybe they don't believe in God, maybe they don't go to church. It's hard to know. You have to ask different questions to learn that. So, here's a different, this is a government survey, which is different from the census, a couple of years ago. And here's what they found out. 50% were nuns. Same country, different numbers. And it went down from 31% in 1983, the same survey. Went up, sorry. I said down, I should say up. Church of England, the Anglicans, the official church of England. In Taiwan, it's called Shandong Hui. It exists in many other countries too. My parents belong to it, even though they're Americans. Anyway, this is the official Church of England, but now it's only 20% of the people said they belong to it, down from 40% in 1983. So it looks like a bunch of Church of England people are now nuns. In fact, it's almost exactly the same number. 9% Catholic, other Christian, 15%, so you can add them together to get all the Christians. It's about 44% altogether. Non-Christians, 6%, same as the census. Now, how many of these people are going to church? Of the people who said they had a religion, not the nuns, never mind the nuns, of the other people, 14% said they go to church or whatever, mosque, synagogue, every week. And 56% said they never go. These are religious people who never go to church or temple or whatever it is. So, that gives you some idea of how active they are. Okay, this is the UK. Here's Germany. 64% Christians, about half Protestant, half Catholic. And there are some Orthodox too, Dongzhengjiao. In 100 years ago, it was 98% Christian. Now it's 64% Christian. And the nuns have gone up. Now, what you might not see, this is a measure of all of Germany. When I was growing up, there were two Germanys, East Germany and West Germany. East Germany was communist. Well, communists were supposed to be atheists, atheism, Ushanun. And a lot of these nuns in Germany are in Eastern Germany. If you don't care about religion, in Germany, if your parents are Christian, you will probably say that you're a Christian, but but that doesn't mean you believe in God. That just means you are not a Muslim or a Jew or some other thing. But in Eastern Germany, they have a whole tradition of atheism, which is part of the culture. They pass it to their children. So it's become very strong there. Also in Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, Czechia, and Slovakia, it's split. So they are also mostly atheist countries. Jews. 100 years ago, or a little more, Germany was 1% Jewish. And a few years ago, it was 0.1%. If you think for a minute, you can figure out what happened to all the Jews. The answer is around the 1930s and the 1940s. Nazi Germany killed most of them, and others fled to other countries. So, killed or forced into exile. Other than Christian or Jewish or none, today 2.7%, or a few years ago. These numbers have already changed. In the past few years, they've had almost 1 million Muslim refugees immigrate to Germany. So, huge change. There were already a lot before, but they argue about this over all of Europe. How important is it that our countries are culturally Christian? They ask. The Pope says it's very important. He would say that, he's the Pope. Other people say it's more important to be a diverse society and not to discriminate, to treat everyone equally, if they're Christian, Muslim, or some other thing. So they argue, and they're still arguing. Different countries have different public opinions about it. How many people believe in God? Well, this is the Pew poll again, using telephones. 60% are certain there is a God. 20% are fairly certain. 6% believe there is a God, but are only a little bit certain. And 9% do not believe in God, which is higher than the 3% atheist. It doesn't all match. 2% said some other thing or don't know. I don't know. So it looks like a lot of Americans believe in God. UK, 2016, 28% believe. It was 50% in 1991, and 25 years later, it was down to 28. 38% were atheists. So, fewer people are believing in Britain. I couldn't get good numbers for all of Germany, but for Eastern Germany, 52% are atheists. 8% believe in a personal God, and the others believe in maybe something, some kind of God, but maybe not a traditional idea. But God is not the only thing you might believe in. Here are some other beliefs that they poll people about. UK, 2009, 53, now the numbers do not make sense. You can't, you'll see. 50% believe there is life after death. 55% believe in heaven. But wait a minute, how can you believe in heaven? That means 2% believe in heaven and don't believe in life after death? There's a heaven, but no one goes there? I don't know. There's no one can explain this. Actually, there was a very funny survey that found many atheists, something in America about a quarter of atheists believe in God. But atheist means you don't believe in God. Well, I don't know. They didn't understand what it meant. That's how they answered the question. So anyway, this is how they answered. 70% believe in a soul. 39% believe in ghosts. 27% in reincarnation. No, it doesn't add up. 22% believe in astrology, 星座. 15% in fortune telling. What? Astrology, isn't that fortune telling? I don't know. Okay, so a lot of people are believing in some woo stuff. Woo is a new word that people use for, kind of unscientific, weird, supernatural stuff like this. USA. Okay, the U.S. This is Britain. The U.S. will never, I'm sure we'll do we always do very highly on these polls. 42% of Americans believe in possession by demons. That means a demon can take over your body, like in the movies. To be fair, Catholics are supposed to believe this. It's in the teachings. Jesus believed it, so it sounds crazy if you've never heard it, but it is a traditional idea. 41% believe in ESP, extrasensory perception. What is that? Like reading minds, if I can read your thoughts, or if I can make things move with my mind, or if I can see the future. These are all examples of ESP. So 41% of Americans believe in that. 37% believe in haunted houses, a house that has a ghost in it. Strangely, only 32% believe in ghosts. So the others are haunted, but not by ghosts? I don't know. 25% believe in astrology. 24% believe in aliens. Now, what they specifically asked was, extraterrestrial beings have visited the Earth in the past. That's how they asked the question. So if you believe maybe there's life on other planets, that's not what they're asking. They're asking, visitors from other planets have already come. So 24% believe in that. 21% believe in witches. Who, Paul? Now, this is confusing because some people, when they think of witches, they think magical people who fly around on brooms, but not Harry Potter. Women who wear black can do magic. But there are real people who say there are witches. So maybe the 21% were thinking of that. I don't know. They should have asked. I believe in witches, but not the magic kind. I've met some. Let's see, 20% believe in reincarnation. This is surprising. Lu Hui, this is surprising that so many Westerners believe in reincarnation. That's supposed to be a Buddhist, Hindu idea. But here we find, Christians and Jews are believing this. That's not part of their traditional religion. No. Just like ghosts. Ghosts are a traditional folk belief, but the religions don't usually accept it. Channeling, 9%. Channeling is if an angel or an alien or maybe Jesus or Buddha or something can take over your body and speak. Hello, I am an angel. I have a message. This was popular in the 1980s. And some people still do it. What's the difference between that and possession by the devil or by demons? This is evil, this is not evil. New Agers do this. Christians, conservative Christians, are afraid of this. Some of them say channeling is really possession. They think it's an angel, but it's really a devil. So some Christians will say that. Anyway, 9% believe in channeling. And 57% of the people who answered this poll believed in at least two strange things. So, there's a lot of people who believe in, some woo stuff. Oh, yes. This year, there was a poll. They asked how many people believed in the flat earth. This was an online poll. I don't believe it. But they said 2% believe that the earth is flat, not round. Also, millennials, 1/3 of them were not sure that the earth was round. I don't believe it. I think it's because of the way they took the test. If you take the test, but you don't really want to, you might just, pick any blank and you don't care. Or you might joke, do you believe in the flat earth? Yeah. You might laugh and say yes. I would like to believe that most of this 2% are people who are joking or who didn't care, but you never really know. It is true that the belief in the flat earth is rising, but it's probably only a few thousand people. Some of them are probably joking. It's hard to know. Okay, here's some polls. These are different from religious beliefs. Religious beliefs are also supernatural, but religions in the West tend to be identity groups. If you believe in astrology, that doesn't mean that you start a church of astrology, and if other people don't believe in astrology, you give them pamphlets and you fight. That usually doesn't happen. Or ghosts. People, maybe they occasionally argue about ghosts, but people who believe in ghosts are not a group that says we are a group. But religions are. Catholics know they are a group. Buddhists mostly do, but here they're maybe confused. And groups with group identities often come into conflict. So, who do we hate the most? Well, here are some recent polls in the U.S. They ask who you feel prejudiced against. 43% of Americans said they felt a little prejudice against Muslims. 20% said some prejudice, which is more than a little. And 9% felt a lot of prejudice against Muslims. So, how many is that? 72% were or at least somewhat prejudiced against Muslims. When asked, most Americans said they were prejudiced to some amount against Muslims. What about other religions? Some people are prejudiced against Christians, 18%. A little prejudice is Muslims, 43%, Christians, 18%, Jews, 15%, Buddhists, 14%. What? People don't like the Buddhists? Why? I don't know. I should have found something. The atheists actually get a lot of prejudice. This poll didn't ask about that, but it's not an accident that all the U.S. presidents ever have been Christians. At least they've said they were Christians. Who knows what they really believed? Probably some of them were not really religious, like Lincoln. In Congress, almost all of them have been Christians. There have been some Jews, a few atheists, a few people who would say they were atheists, but probably most politicians would not admit that they were atheists, because many voters don't like atheists and won't vote for one. So there's a lot of pressure to pretend to be religious, even if you're not. It was more in the past, but it's getting less now, but it's still that. So other countries, these are mostly gauging anti-Muslim sentiment. 2009, Switzerland, 38% thought that there was inevitably a conflict between Islam and democracy. In Germany, 40% said Muslims should not be allowed to immigrate. This was 2 years ago. So it was up from 20% a few years before that. It doubled in a couple of years at the same time that they had all those refugees. So, the big story from Central Europe is refugees, Muslim refugees, are making a lot of Christians or Jews think that there are too many Muslims. Again, these are identity groups. Many of the Muslims who are immigrating are not necessarily religious. For many Muslims, being a Muslim means when people ask you what your religion is, you say Muslim. Sometimes it means they don't eat pork. Occasionally it means they don't drink alcohol, but that's kind of rare. Very few Muslims will actually do all the required prayers. So it's the same for the Christians. Most of the European Christians, being Christian means when you ask them what your religion is, they write down Christian. But if you ask them, do you believe in God? Many of them will say no. Then why do you support the church? They'll say, well, the church does good work. They help the poor. It's culture, something like that. In some of these countries, they take taxes out of, they'll take a church tax. In Germany, if you are a Christian, a Protestant or a Catholic, or I think Orthodox now, the government will collect taxes for the church. You have to pay the church, and the government will collect the money. It comes from old treaties, hundreds of years ago. They had these arrangements for a long time. Other religions, they'll do the same thing. If you're Jewish, they take your money and give it to the Jewish groups. If you're Buddhist, they can take your money now too. If you have no religion, you don't have to pay a religious tax. So you're lucky. But if you die, they don't have to bury you. You're on your own. You have to pay money and find someone who is willing to take your dead body. Or your relatives have to do that. Maybe not you. Many people stay a part of the religion just so they'll, have a place to be buried. Not because they believe in the religion. So, anyway, so in the West, religion is more of an identity group, but you can change identity groups. I like to say, I don't know if I completely believe this, I like to say that in Taiwan, your political parties are more like our religions. If you switch political parties, that's a bigger deal here than in the West. In the West, people do it sometimes every election. And in the same family, you can have different people belonging to different political parties. Here, it happens, but it's more important. People feel it more. Maybe it's changing, I don't know. But religion, here, your grandmother might be a Buddhist, but that doesn't mean that you're a Buddhist. Your other grandmother might play mahjong. That's about the same kind of thing. It's just a hobby. And if you convert to be something else, most people don't care. In the West, that's a bigger deal. If you convert to another religion, people assume that's kind of important. That's why they do all these polls to find out what's happening. Why are there so many Muslims around? And Chinese religion would really confuse them, because you have many people here who don't know what their religion is or what its name would be if it is a religion. Or you have people who seem to be religious but who don't think they are. They do bye-bye, but they say they don't have a religion. Like my wife. So how do we classify that? It's hard. And remember, there's different ways to measure religion. If you call people on the phone and say, what is your religion? You get one number. If you knock on their door, you might get a different number. If you look to see who comes to church, that's a completely different number. It's much, much lower than people who say they go to church. If you look at numbers, it looks like the Church of England is larger. In Britain, the Church of England is larger than the Catholics. But if you look at who goes to church, the Catholics are much larger than the Church of England. So, anyway, so these old maps that show every country is one color, this really is too simple. Every religion is almost everywhere. That's too simple too. But in OECD countries, in the developed countries, mostly they're getting lots of different religions. This has been going on for a long time, and there are new religions multiplying every year, and this is true here, certainly true in the United States and Europe and other countries, even in the Middle East. There are a lot of guest workers from India and other countries. So there are Hindus and Buddhists in the Middle East, and there are even temples there. So most people think, oh, it's all Muslim, but that's not that simple. Okay, I guess that's enough for now. We could